Morning, everybody. 8 o'clock Thursday, Emergency Preparedness Committee. I can't see who's in the audience here. Hang on. Okay, now I can see. We do have guests. We have our council liaison. We have a fellow committee member. Excellent. Lots of people. All right, great. Let us begin. All right, we are called to order. That's number one. Roll call is number two. Kimberly.
Here.
Excellent. Lynn. Craig.
Here.
Dale.
On Zoom.
Excellent. Marianne. Chris, here I am. Ray is not here. Jerry is here. Excellent. Vic is not here. Bud. Excellent. Really good to see you, Bud. And Randy, not here. We have a quorum. Meeting is good to go. Let's do any oral communication. There are no minutes. Whoever took them didn't send them, so we didn't include them. We will find out who has them and we will approve them in the next meeting. That's one of our goals for today, is to determine who has them. Sorry. Any oral communications or items not on the agenda?
I have a, may I?
Go ahead. Bud.
Last time we talked about the bridge across the creek that people want the town to sort of authorize so they can get tax-free donations.
Right.
It should be a two-way street. And since that road is only one lane wide, it needs to be 2-lane wide for an emergency route out exit. Therefore, if the residents were to make the road 2-lane wide, the town would support the bridge. That's my suggestion.
Right. That's a good suggestion. A few of us did actually walk the road and kind of looked, and I agree with you. It's kind of narrow, but I think the people who are making that call are still thinking about it and will ask us for some kind of input. I'm looking at our backup town council liaison.
Chris, we're working on that in the evacuation subcommittee.
Okay. So, and you heard,
We'll have a short report during the committee.
excellent. Okay. Thank you.
And we are, sorry, I didn't know you were looking at me, Chris. We are, the town manager was at the council meeting or at your meeting last time, and it is under consideration.
Right. And I'm sorry, I meant to say backup. I was looking at Craig because there's no way you could tell I was looking at you.
Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other oral communications? All right. I have a question for our council liaison and our backup, which is, do you care about the order today? We're planning to do feedback on the EOP EOC plan first, but I know you had a discussion on safety initiatives. Does it matter when you do it? Okay. Well, let's stick with the order we have then. Okay. Great. Just so everyone in the audience knows, we have the town engineer here whose name is Robert Burt. Welcome. Thank you. I think equally likely we'll have questions out of either one of those two things. So, yep. Great. And thank you for coming to the meeting today. All right, let's hand it to Kim. If you can.
Before you do that,
Yeah.
Chris, Robert, if you have a comment about I know I'm jumping around a little bit about the signs. If you're in a position to make a comment about it, that'd be great. But if you're not, no worries.
We'll lose you because the first two agenda items will go past the half hour you've got. So maybe it makes sense to have you comment on that. Thanks for coming to the meeting.
Yeah, thank you
On the
very
spot.
much.
think it's already on. There we go. So we need to work together with yourself to confirm that it was presented in the agenda to ASCC. I believe it was presented. I'm not sure if it was agendized.
It was presented. I don't recall if it was agendized.
Okay. Once we go through that process, then we can confirm with town council and go ahead and put it up. But I'm looking to try to get that done this fall,
Okay, great.
ASAP.
So my to-do is to verify that ASCC has looked at it, correct?
Yes, if you could go back to the meeting minutes and
Sure.
make sure it was
I'll do that.
agendized. And if it wasn't, we should probably bring it back to them just for confirmation.
Understood. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
All right. Thank you. Let's close out that issue and move on to item 4, discussion and progress feedback on the EO plan. Kim, can you grab the,
I got the mic.
okay,
All right, and I'm going to share the presentation. Let's go ahead and do that.
go,
And how does that look for everybody?
go. Perfect.
Good? Okay. Okie dokie. Let me just get back to my, okay, great. So this morning, we're going to just provide a brief overview on the updates for the emergency operations plan, the town's emergency operations plan, the EOP, as well as update on designing the emergency operations center and all that goes along with that.
So this is a report back from the subcommittee to the committee today.
Correct. So this is a report back from the subcommittee, and some of it is information that you may have already heard. So I will kind of breeze through some of that information fairly quickly, just to be cognizant of everybody's time. So today we're going to just review what is an emergency operations plan, the development process for that, documents that are associated with the EOP, what is an emergency operations center, the difference between the EOC and field level operations, the documents that are involved with designing the EOC, as well as the operations manual updates and next steps. Seems like a lot, but it's only 10 slides, so. Okay, so what is an emergency operations plan? So this is a single document that provides concepts for a jurisdiction's or organization's emergency management program. It is also accompanied by various appendices, annexes, further detailing supplemental information for that jurisdiction or organization. So for example, the town of Portola Valley, we will be choosing priority hazards and risks associated with the town, which will be an earthquake annex, a wildfire annex, and severe weather annex. It is considered one component of the emergency management program. It's not a tactical document. It doesn't dictate what's going on at the field level. And it further encompasses an all hazards approach. So if it's something beyond those hazards that I described, it also covers those as well. 2.6, why is this not working? Why can I not? Let me see here. There we go. The town of Portola Valley EOP development process. So in developing the new one, the updated one, we are following the state of California Governor's Office of Emergency Services, their guidance, which is a giant crosswalk. We're also going to be following FEMA's guidance as well. We've also researched and collected best practices from similar jurisdictions. We've interviewed town staff, relevant committee members on the history of the emergency management program and activities within the town, as well as interviewing neighboring jurisdictions and similar jurisdictions. So we've been in discussions with the town of Los Altos Hills, their emergency management program as well. So this just kind of gives you a quick overview of what the emergency operations plan entails. So you have the basic plan, which is what I was describing. as well as attachments and appendices that go along with it. One of the most important ones are the Emergency Operations Center guidance document. It's also called an operations manual, depending on which jurisdiction or organization speak with. And there are the hazard-specific annexes that I listed as well. And you'll see at the very bottom is the evacuation plan, and that was developed last year, and that will also be considered a component of the emergency operations plan. What is an emergency operations center? So this is a physical or virtual structure that's designed to collect, analyze, and share emergency management information. It supports field level operations, so it does not dictate what's going on tactically at that field level. It follows an organizational concept, typically the incident command structure or some semblance of that, to best align with what's going on at the field level. It functions as a coordination hub, so it's a two-way sharing entity, pulling information into the Emergency Operations Center as well as pushing information out. It provides a strategic level, or it maintains a strategic level viewpoint. It can support logistics, such as resource needs and requests that go beyond what police and fire are determining the need for at the field level. And again, it provides that strategic level coordination and oftentimes policy direction. It also helps with planning future needs, such as the recovery efforts for a longstanding emergency. So this just kind of gives you a brief description of the EOC versus field level. So again, it doesn't carry out tactical activities. It's not dictating what fire and law are doing on the ground, as well as CERT. A lot of folks are familiar. Once the Emergency Operations Center is activated, it follows the EOC action plan, which also mirrors what's going on at the field level in terms of their incident action plan. Again, it's a strategic plan. It's a wider and higher level set of objectives and priorities at that citywide level. Think big picture Costco versus street corner grocery store. Okay, so as part of the EOP, again, there's the EOC specific documents. And I'm just kind of highlighting that once again. And this is that EOC operations manual. It's typically called different things, again, depending on the jurisdiction or organization. It's also customized based on those. It can be just sitting in a red binder at the EOC virtually. It's also kept in some cloud virtual EOC systems. It's updated as needed, and examples of information that go into the EOC operations manual are some of these bullets described here. So emergency policies, facility information, organization charts, checklists, protocols for various hazards, critical facility and contact list, town staff, and town committee contact list. And it's not to, this is just examples of what could be inside an emergency operations center manual. These also follow standardized guidance that FEMA provides in terms of what could go into the manual. So as part of today's discussion, we just wanted to provide you again an update of where we stand. We have, to the right of this slide, developed an EOP outline. This is just part of it. This is not all of it. We have also developed an EOC concept of operations. And with both of those, we need to develop the actual plans and documents that are associated. So developing the EOP and developing the EOC operations manual. In terms of the EOC facility, one thing that the town has expressed interest in is gauging whether or not EPC members would be interested and registering as disaster service workers to help support an EOC activation. And specifically, this role would be under the authority of the town, not under CERT. And then responsibilities would be primarily supporting the Emergency Operations Center here if it was activated. So next steps for these projects are to begin full content development for the Emergency Operations Plan, as well as full content development for the EOC Operations Manual. One thing that we've considered is prioritizing the EOC Operations Manual in case the EOC is activated in the near future. And then along with the EOC facility, next steps is to implement the local disaster service worker program, to confirm a few of the guidance requirements, and then initiate the local process for interested EPC members, and that we would move forward with filling out the registration forms and submittal to the town for collection. And I think that's it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Mhm.
A lot of work. Thank you. And obviously been putting a lot of time into this. I know you've held several meetings.
Yeah.
I think maybe, there's 3 or 4 individual things that need to happen, but why don't we start with any comments or questions about sort of the general report, general update? Does it meet people's expectations, et cetera? And sure, go ahead.
My question is, did you see the existing big EOC binder? You saw that? Okay, I
Ye-
was just curious.
Yeah, so I have seen that binder
Okay.
already.
Could we have, who on the committee?
Who is on that committee? I'm on it. Kim, you're chairing it, right?
Correct. Yeah, for the
else is on it?
subcommittee. So it's Craig, Chris, Lynn, myself, and Helen. And Dale, not to forget Dale. Sorry, you're not in the room. Dale. Mhm.
Any other comments or questions, Jerry? You're-
Question. I think I could read into the presentation a connection with CERT, but it wasn't real specific. And I think because that is potentially an important operational arm, it may be best if we figured out how to really state that clearly so everyone understands how it fits.
Yeah, so CERT's been brought up a few times. So at the EOC level, CERT would fall under operations branch, and it would fall under, it would fall under the operations section, and it would fall under the fire and rescue branch. So in terms of where CERT falls into the overarching process, they remain, a tactical resource, and they would be in line with what is going on at the field level and hopefully somewhat close vicinity to the incident command post. But it is considered a operational resource, and it would fall under that in the incident command structure.
I agree with all of that.
Microphone.
That it would be an advantage as people in the community look at this,
Mhm.
to be able to say, oh, I see CERT
Right.
and CERT fits here.
Yes.
Right, clearly stated. I agree with that comment. 'Cause
Yeah.
This will come up again and again
Right.
after we've left and someone else is doing this. We can at least look at what the written decisions and records were. Yeah.
There will be, within the EOP, there'll be a description of CERT and how it ties into supporting field level operations, as well as how it ties into the emergency operations center structure. So there will certainly be a section on that, as well as the EOC operations binder. It will be in there too.
Yeah, please do.
Good morning. Good morning. So one thing that's sort of been evolving is CERT's gonna report to fire. Fire is gonna do the dispatch because CERT is a district-wide. So all the things that Kim's talking about are great. But fire is gonna be the controlling entity, if you will, for CERT. That's how it's gonna fit. And it makes a lot more sense because then the EOC, which is doing coordination and talking to fire to understand, like, okay, what else do you need and where are you guys at? But they're not going to dispatch CERT. Like in our old model, we had it, like we were going to dispatch CERT from the EOC. All that's gone now. It's all going to be through the fire so that way we can dispatch across the district. So I think it's a much better model. It's just taken a while for the district to say, yep, we're on board with that program. And that's why they have the new digital radios and a bunch of other stuff. So I think it's a great step forward.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's my understanding as well. I agree that it's a good step. And I also think we should write it down clearly so that we can just go read
Yeah.
what was decided in the year 2025.
And that's what other jurisdictions do too, is CERT always falls under fire as a.
Good. Any other comments or questions in the room?
Another question. These are historical questions.
Sure.
So I remember when we used to do an EUC training, the Public Works Committee had actually quite a prominent role. Is that gone? I don't even know if we still have a Public Works Committee.
It's my understanding that we do have a Public Works Committee and they will be eventually pulled in as a stakeholder for the development of the emergency operations plan. But as it stands right now, it's kind of just like the immediate players that you involve in the development. And then as it gets further along, you pull in folks like Public Works to provide information that's
I was actually
relevant.
thinking more because they are the people with the chainsaws.
Mhm.
So they would be out there cutting trees or something like that.
Mhm. And Public Works is always involved with EOPs, yeah.
Darcy Smith, your town manager. Thanks for having us here today. And Robert Burt is here, our town engineer. So we met with Kim and we worked through a lot of things. And I think I'm brand new, so I'm just getting up to speed. But I just want to be mindful of one thing, which is that the town obviously has risk involved, especially with disasters. And we just want to make sure that our liability, especially around things like workers' comp, is addressed. And so when we met with Kim, the topic of registering individuals as disaster service workers come up, and we're still working on that. I just want to explain that would be a vehicle to ensure that people have workers' comp coverage should they get hurt. Because yeah, getting out there with chainsaws or moving heavy things, someone could get hurt. And then the town, if like I direct them to do it, we're exposed. And believe me, we don't want $1 million or $2 million lawsuit on our hands. Okay. And that's sometimes what happens. Honestly, the claims for lawsuits related to things like that are sometimes $5-10 million. So I take that seriously. So before we have people out there with chainsaws, anyone from the town, unless there's town staff, which I think, we have very limited staff. We have Scott and Justin. We have to address this issue. And the DSW process, Kim can maybe touch on that because she's more knowledgeable on the subject, but just know we're going through that process to try to get folks enrolled that then the town could deploy as needed. Now, CERT luckily is covered under a different umbrella, which is great. But when you mentioned the Public Works Commissioner, so I think traditionally were resources. I just want to be very mindful of this. Yeah. And I should also mention that last week's fire brought up just a lot of things to the surface about this topic, especially around SMC alerts. So just know I've been involved in conversations with the fire chief, with county, and with the Woodside town manager about this topic. And we'll work through Kim and the group as well as appropriate. But just know that's just top of mind right now. I didn't see it as the town's role to push out an SMC alert. It was not our incident. We didn't have the most timely information. That said, it would probably be very wise to do an alert maybe for the town picnic just to test it and make sure it works because there will be road closures for the picnic. So that may be appropriate. But I just want you to know, you know, with an incident like a fire, the fire department takes the lead and then we follow.
Great,
So
thank
wanna
you.
Say a little bit about the DSW.
Yeah, let's move on to that part, because I think we've got the comments, and I don't see up in the audience. And so, I mean, I'd like to say, I think the plan you've done so far is amazing. I think the amount of work you have led the subcommittee through is amazing, and we've met with all the different stakeholders. Thank you for doing all that. And I mean, from my point of view, carry on. And are you looking for a carry on endorsement from the rest of the committee right now, or is it really just an update kind of thing?
I think it's more of an update kind of
Oh.
thing. I think in terms of, you know, like actual documents, through the discussions that we've been having and through the meetings that we've been having, it's kind of come to the forefront that it's probably most necessary to get that EOC operations manual completed as soon as possible, given the fact that we're still in while we're entering kind of the peak wildfire season. And if there were to be an activation, that document and that binder would be as most updated as possible, and that the EOP we could develop as that is finished. And because it's more of a strategic and conceptual document, not something that you would grab, you know, if the EOC was activated, that we can kind of pivot just slightly in terms of putting pen to paper. And so, yes, I guess asking the committee if that would be appropriate.
Well, that's a recommendation of the sub. And so I think you've got that power, but
Mhm.
my point of view, it's the right answer. And
Okay.
we can just ask around. Does anyone have a different feeling, or do we let the subcommittee go with that pivot that we do the EOC ops manual next? So we literally have the what to do red binder.
Okay. Okay.
Everyone's nodding their head.
Sure.
Can't
And so
see your
just
head there, Dale, but I assume it's nodding off.
okay, great. So then the DSW, so for folks that don't know what that is, it's a disaster service worker program, or employees with the town, they already are deemed DSWs. So in the event that there's an emergency or an incident, they do have to kind of pivot from their day job to support whatever activities are necessary to support the response to the event. And in discussions with the town, we know that staff is limited, and that if there were to be an emergency operations center activation, that there are local volunteers that are eager and willing to help support as staff for the EOC. And the first group that they would look to is our EPC committee.
Right.
And I do believe that there are 3 or 4 folks that are already designated and registered as DSWs. I believe that the town wanted to kind of gauge and see if there's interest in the committee having more members register.
Right. So we're trying to decide, it's literally a question to the individuals here.
Mhm.
Are you potentially interested in volunteering to help staff the EOC when it gets activated? And there's a lot to think about
Mhm.
there. Your own personal willingness to do it, but also it seems to turn out the same people are on lots of different committees. We have certain members and EPC members, and there are overlaps. And you're probably going to have to pick which way you might want to go at the time that an EOC is open.
Mhm.
So just think about that. But I guess it's a general question at this point. We're not going to hold you to it, but
Mhm.
are any people here interested in helping staff the EOC if you did?
Yeah, I am. I had so much EOC training when I was younger. I'd be happy to.
Yeah, I'm on board as well.
Mhm.
You got at least one other, so
Yeah, I'd be interested. I would like to learn more about
Right.
the overlap between that and CERT and so forth.
good. There's a good general reception to the idea.
Okay, great.
Um,
In terms of details about, like, you know, workers' comp registration and all of that, I think we can maybe table that for the
Yeah.
the next meeting, but I think just to get that initial,
But that's, I mean, that's sort of a benefit to the volunteer is by becoming a registered disaster service worker, you're then covered
mhm.
by insurance liability, et cetera, by the state if something happens to you. And as Darcy pointed out, the town is protected because we're using somebody who's covered.
Right.
to do that.
And there are classifications for the DSW. So for the application process, we would check off EOC as the classification for work that we would be providing. And so we would not be picking up chainsaws and doing all that other stuff that
Thank you.
Darcy was fearful of us doing at this point. So that's not to say in the future we won't, but
Good. I think that's probably, we got
Just
one comment
a
coming.
quick last comment. You know, all of this sounds great. And I see it as a future development process. But if a member of the community asked me today, are we capable of opening an EOC? Do we have trained people? The answer is
Yeah. We have people who had training a long time ago that would probably volunteer and help, and staff is partly trained and et cetera. That's my read of it. But that's where we're headed. That's why the pivot to create the EOC manual first, so we know what we need to do. Does that manual contain training suggestions?
it can. Yeah. Yeah, we can include that
To
in
be
there.
considered, yeah?
Yeah, and there are staff at the town that have taken emergency operations center training. They've taken incident command system training. So those folks are prepared to turn the lights on and get the EOC activated. So yes, I would say to the community members that ask you that the town is prepared, but they can be even more prepared with the stuff that we're doing, help support.
So I think that should kind of be in our minutes that we have acknowledgement that their EOC can be activated now, and we have trained staff, but we're just working to improve on that whole process. So
Let the minutes reflect that. Good. Thank you. All right. Well, we went over, but I think that was a really, really important update and discussion. So thank you, everybody. Let's move on to item 5, which is a discussion of safety initiatives from the town council. And I think I would ask Craig or Darcy to maybe lead us on that.
Thank you. So let me just briefly, and I'll try to be short since we are running late.
I don't think we have anyone here from fire today, so you might have some,
Oh, okay.
maybe,
great.
let me check if they're online.
I'll still try to keep it brief.
Yeah.
So let me give you some background to start with. Rebecca and I were appointed to 2 council subcommittees. One of them was one called the Resilience, was to generate some safety initiatives, and the other was to basically look at the safety element and sort of the process of getting that done. At the last council meeting, we presented a list of safety initiatives. It was, we had a long discussion, and there was lots of council feedback. To give you the sense, and you can look in the packet to see what's there, just to put this in context, because of the Brown Act, we have subcommittees, and then subcommittees come back and say, okay, here's what we're thinking about to the full council, and the council then comments on it, and they go away and they do some work and they come back. So it's a little bit of an onerous process, but it's just sort of the way we do it. So if it sounds roundabout, that's kind of what's going on. So it's in the packet if you're interested in seeing the full thing. It basically has 3 sections, sort of highest priority, medium priority, and longer term priority. What I wanted to talk about today, well, before I do that, let me talk about the goal. The goal of having the safety initiatives list was so that all of us in the community have kind of a common set of things that we go, yeah, these are things that need to get worked on. And that way, all the different committees, wildfire, preparedness, geologic safety, emergency preparedness, can all look at these lists and go, oh yeah, that's something that we could work on, so that we all end up getting, sort of pulling in the same direction to get work done. So that was kind of the goal of the safety initiatives. I kind of wish Vic was here today because he had his list which I was hoping to talk to him about to see, whether we could incorporate some of that. Remember that EPC rankings project?
No, that's right. And he's also chair of the outreach committee, appropriate for
Which
some
is
of the
gonna be
goals.
appropriate for some of the
So we
super
may
high.
have to have this conversation again.
Yeah, okay, and I'm happy to come back and have it, or talk to Vic directly, depending on how. So, anyway, so then there's the list of safety initiatives, and some of them are the goals that you guys are already working. I mean, the great thing about EPC is you guys have always been good, every January you come up with a set of goals and then you work. Okay, I'm talking very, I'm eating the microphone, sorry. So on the list were EPC goals, existing goals that you guys have. And what I was saying is EPC's always been great in January about sort of defining a set of goals to work on for the year. So thank you. That's been a great process, and I hope you guys continue. So thank you for that. So those things were, complete the AM radio upgrade, install the signage that I know, Craig, you've been working on, revise the EOP that I know Kim's working on, and sort of get a model for the EOC. We've talked about different ways we might model it. So those are sort of the things that I think are definitely in progress and sort of in flight. In addition to that, we put some things on the list, and these are potential goals if EPC is willing to take them on. One thing we wanted to be clear, it wasn't the subcommittee's goal was not to be like, we're the authority and we're going to tell you what to do. It was, let's all work collaboratively together, get the best list we can, and then figure out what makes sense and what people's interests are to work through it. So some of the other things that were on the list, if you're interested, is basically evaluating our participation in SMC Alert. I know we've done it in the past, but I think it would be great to know, what percentage of residents in Portola Valley are signed up for SMC. And I don't know what that number is anymore, but I think that's something that if annually we could just report and say, we're at 60% or 40%, whatever that number is, and then think about what we could do to improve it. That would be, one of the goals that I think would be valuable. And I'm guessing if you guys are willing, just finding out what our participation is something we could do this year. But again, I'm going to leave it to you guys to decide which ones you're willing to sort of take on. Another was that SMC has what they call a weekly preparedness calendar. And basically it's an item for once a week for 6 months. And if you follow those things, you'll have your family sort of prepared, go bags and family plans and all that kind of, food and all that kind of stuff. I think it'd be great if the outreach committee of EPC took that on and just literally took their week and just sent it out, sent it out through the forum and sent it out through the town channels. Just, a little bit like WPC's been doing with the wildfire tips. Just something to remind people that, oh yeah, that's right, emergency, I really should do something. And we know how it is. You see these things and half the time they're right by, but every once in a while one sticks. And then you go, oh yeah, I should do that. So if we could get sort of a regular cadence, that would be great. And I know it's hard to write these things up. WPC puts a lot of time into it. But the nice thing about this calendar is it pre-exists. All we really have to do is remember just to put it out there. So that would be another one. The next one is encouraging WPV Ready to basically publish sort of an annual best practices handbook. And so this would just be, every year we should sort of look at what do we think are the best practices, put them together, and then post them on the website, put them under the emergency preparedness section on the town website. So if anybody wants to know how to make a go bag, we have what we think are the current best practices for a go bag, and the current best practices for a family emergency plan, those kind of things. And, for us who do this, you see these things, but, you go out there and look for them, and, there's 40 of them. And it's like, well, which one? And, we have enough experience to sift through them and say, oh, well, this one looks like a good one, and this is better than these other ones. I think it'd just be great if annually we just did that sifting and just put together what we thought was best. The next one, this came from Dale, was a while back, you guys did some evaluation on the fear and peers evacuation study. And we should just get that out and see what's there. Because I think by the end of the year, the council is going to put together some kind of Alpine corridor subcommittee, maybe a working group. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But the idea is for Alpine to look at traffic, to look at evacuation. And I think this part of this would fit into there as well. But I think the first thing is let's get it off, look at what the recommendations are. The one thing I would say is all of this stuff that the subcommittee discussed and part of the discussion at the council was to go back and talk to the committees before money's going to get spent, before staff time's going to get involved, the full council has to decide that that's a priority. Because right now we've got limited staff, limited budget, as everybody knows. So we've got to be really mindful of how we, schedule these things. So I think particularly this one could potentially use up a lot of town engineer time. So I think we need to look at it first, figure out like, what are the important elements? So, I'm willing to talk with Dale, but again, it depends on what EPC is willing to do. The next one is existing evacuation routes. So in an early draft, we had a bunch of those. It seems like putting them on our emergency preparedness page, and it's not really an evacuation routes per se. It's more like where are the gates? And so, I think just having that document, and it's sort of like 10 pages long, but having that in a place that somebody could look at quickly and say, oh yeah, here's my gate. I think that might be a useful thing, because I'd hate to see the work that was, done to gather where all those gates and stuff sort of lost because it's buried in the appendix of some larger document. And then the last one was this EPC, the rankings project. And I just needed to talk to Vic to decide, could we fold some of that stuff in? If nothing else, I think we should get it on the safety initiative list. Even if it just becomes something that the council looks at next year to decide what to prioritize. But I think this, I'm hoping, will be the mechanism to keep safety top of mind with the council and move this stuff forward. So that's the safety initiatives. Are there questions on that? I want to touch lightly on the safety element, and then I'm done.
Well, I think in response to that, those sound like great ideas. And I think they fall into two categories, things that we can tuck into what we're already doing this year, and some that probably end up becoming part of goals for next year.
Sure. Yeah,
And maybe the way to do that is to get that written list out to everybody on the committee, and we can have a discussion about it at our next meeting and agree which ones we're going to start doing. Or do you need feedback sooner than that?
No, I mean, this is really what you guys are willing to take on. I think I might suggest that I send it to the chair. So I'll send it to
Yeah,
you.
you send it to me.
I think if you have subcommittees, like an outreach subcommittee, you might be able to talk to them directly.
I agree.
We might be able to shorten this to, yeah, we're willing to do it. And the next meeting, they just say, yeah, we're doing it. I need to eventually get back to the council and say, yeah, EPC is willing to do this year. But I mean, I can wait until the next meeting.
Right. But some of it fits right in with goals we already have.
Yeah.
We kept evacuation as one of the top 4 for the year. So looking at the study and coming back with some recommendations on that, absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of the outreach, I think it really is going to come down to bandwidth on the outreach committee. So send me the list. I will both distribute it and I think have just conversations with people to see what we're interested in doing, and we can formalize it at our next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Okay. And then the other thing I want to touch briefly on was our second council subcommittee was safety element. So Rebecca and I have been looking at where we are, where the comments were the last time we went through this round, what we can do to sort of get this moving again. We've been working with staff. One of the questions that's come up, the larger question is, and I'm interested in hearing this committee's opinion, is whether we create a working group of the different safety. That would be EPC, WPC, geologic safety, maybe BPTS for some of the evacuation stuff, versus trying to just deal with it sort of as separate committees. And the advantage of the working group would get everybody together and talk about stuff at one time rather than do this sort of serial meeting, and everything gets spread out. And obviously disadvantage, it's another meeting and another group of people that have to meet. So I'm curious what this committee thinks about having a working group versus just trying to work individually with the safety committees.
I think it makes great sense. I mean,
This is having the working group?
having a combined working group, if they're working on the same problem, and what's the logic of doing it separately?
I agree with you, Jerry. Let's get Dale's opinion.
Dale has a meeting.
Is he got his hand up? Oh, good.
Yeah.
You're on mute still.
Oh, there we go. Is that better?
Hear you now.
Okay, I have quite a different opinion. I feel pretty strongly that the best work is done in the committee. And then if you want to send the results of the EPC committee up to the working group to sort out the issues and the overlap, that's much better. I found that the larger working groups devolve and end up doing things that don't have sort of the wisdom of the entire EPC. That would be my big concern, depending on who ends up on the working group. So I would prefer that things be done at the EPC level on the things that touch EPC, because there's going to be a lot of stuff in there. There'll be evacuation, there'll be working group, there'll be EOC, all those kinds of things that touch a number of subcommittees on the EPC, and then flow that up maybe to one final revision or a group to sort out overlap and so on. But I don't like an overarching committee trying to touch all of the various things. And remember, this safety element, now that we have the maps and so on, has got a lot of work to do in it to be revised. I was just looking over the comments that we made last time on the safety element. There were a lot of comments, and they all referred back to, you know, issues we had without having the fire maps and so on. So that's my comment.
What's the deadline on this one? When do you need to have the safety element complete?
Well, we have made the council has a goal to have the safety element ready for review by state officials by the end of the year. So it doesn't, you know, and it takes a while to go through that process, but the idea is to get it done. And you know, we've got a safety element that we pay consultants for. So I mean, it's not like we have nothing. It's just the comments need to get folded back in. And then we need to decide if there's anything else we want to do. Since that time, other communities banded together in the county and basically came up with sort of a template for a safety element. So we might be able to borrow some of that structure. And then Darcy's here now and planning's here. So, you know, we can get moving on this. So I would say it's moving fairly quickly. I mean, given that, you know, this is September. The other thing I'd say is I agree with Dale that knowing what a working group's going to talk about, so everybody brings their sort of best game and their best information, it makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know that all of the safety things can be neatly compartmentalized into a committee. I mean, I take evacuation as one of them. Geologic survey, you know, the geologic committee has a bunch of evacuation, particularly evacuation wildfire and how earthquake intersects with that. So making sure that we find a way to bring the expertise from the different committees together, I think makes sense. But I do agree with Dale. If it's just like, oh, let's all meet and figure it out, like that seems like a recipe for disaster.
And is it a one person per committee kind of working group, or could we create a subcommittee that participates in that?
So I would need to talk to our attorney to be sure.
Right.
I think what ends up happening is as soon as we start bringing multiple committees together, it becomes Brown Act by definition, even if it's not a quorum of any one of the committees. I think that's just the way it works. So then, yeah, I think it's reasonable if we had a couple of members from each committee. I mean, you know, as long as we don't create a 20-person, you know, working group that's just unwieldy. But I think having a couple of voices from each committee makes a lot of sense.
Dale, do you want to react to that? It sounds like we could have a subcommittee that works on it, and then those members go to this working group to represent it.
Again, just another committee, another group of meetings, in my opinion, has never resolved anything, but I'll leave it to the wisdom of our council members as how they want to try and operate.
Well, Dale, maybe I can get together with you. Maybe you can help me think about, you know, what the prep work is. So if we do convene a working group, that it's a useful and effective group. So, you know, let me catch up with you after the meeting.
That's fine.
Okay, great.
Great.
Any other questions for me? again, any help you guys get, the goal of the subcommittee was to make sure that safety was sort of front and center for the council. And, you know, we get busy, we've got the housing element, we get safety, you know, we got other demands that come from the state. And so our goal here was basically to make sure that we had something we could go back to, especially when we do priorities, we could go back to and say, look, this is the list of stuff. How's this stuff going to get done? And start thinking about the prioritization. So, you know, any suggestions you guys have, if you look at the list and you have other ideas of safety initiatives, send them to me and I'll make sure they get on the revised list that I submit to, you know, that Rebecca and I submit to the council.
Great. All right. One more comment.
One thing that I would think added to this list of existing evacuation routes is what are our safe shelter in place sites do we have in town?
Yeah, I think the fire department is working on that. That's a good, I will add that. Because we talked about that, and I mean, Dale might know. Dale, wasn't Kim working on that?
Working on what specifically?
The temporary evacuation points?
No, the TRAs,
Well,
I can't hear you, bud.
I didn't turn it on. A safe place where people can congregate. The fire's all around, but it's going to be safe to stay there because you can't get out.
right, that's a temporary evacuation point.
TRAs, temporary refuge areas.
Oh, sorry.
Refuge areas, yeah. Sorry.
Kim is working on that, and I just got an email from Kim last night that, you know, she's in code update and a number of things, so she's really busy right now, but that is the last thing we were waiting on for the evacuation plan was the definition of the TRAs, and it gets a little complicated. The fire department has been using both Ladris and Flame Mapper to try and meet the requirements for both state and federal, you know, safe places. Right now, the only safe place we have designated is Kenyatta College. But that is in Kim's hands right now.
Right. And it's already on our radar screen as part of the goal and evacuation. But I agree that it's important. I see that Helen, Councilmember Walter, also has a comment.
Yeah, just a quick reminder on the safety element that by state law, after we have a draft, you know, if we want to streamline how we do our safety element, then the state law does require that you have a technical advisory committee review it. So that's another option for a route to move it forward. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. Yeah, good. I did slight variation on the theme. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're going to look to the town council to tell us how they want to get it done, right? You guys are on the hook. You've got to do it. We'd love to help. We think we've got expertise, but you tell us how we can best help.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was just asking to get feedback. Like Dale's feedback's great. I mean, I think that's, you know, spot on. So I think just hearing different committees sort of feedback on this to try to make sure, whether it's a technical advisory committee or a working group or whatever we do, let's just make sure it's something that we as a community can sort of execute on and execute efficiently.
Like one further thing, if Kenyatta College is our TRA,
right,
and we can't get out of Portola Valley, we're dead. We have to have something here in town, not something that's where we can't get out because of the roads. We can't get to Kenyatta College. What the heck is it good for?
That's understood, but they're working to figure out where in Portola Valley would be those places. That's what Kim's working on.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks
Appreciate
very
it.
much. No, two big topics today. Great. We are running out of time, but is anyone on from fire to give a report? I know that Kim is away. I don't think so. So we can skip over that agenda item. And maybe we can do very brief subcommittee reports. I will start. Ray is not here. There's an attached report from the communications subcommittee, which I am on. And I'm going to look at Darcy and at Craig and at Helen and say, we've agreed 100 times now. Can you please make the IT people do what we've agreed? We have the solution, we have the money, we have your approval, we have everything we need, except they won't do it. Thank you. Excellent. The end of report. Okay, Craig.
Yeah, well, per the communication with the town engineer, I've got some action items and we'll get the signs going.
Sounds good. All right, number 3, evacuation. Any updates?
Yes, we're continuing to look at the old Alpine Road Bridge with Zaffaroni, and we got stymied. There were some questions we sent to Zaffaroni and didn't get a response for about 3 weeks. Just got some responses late last night, which I sent around to the subcommittee, and Kim couldn't make our last meeting, so we're going to try and have a meeting here in the next couple of weeks of this subcommittee to try and keep moving this item forward.
Great, thank you. Vic is not here for the neighborhood and resident outreach. And so I think probably some of this discussion, Craig, we'll have to have with Vic between now and the next meeting. Yep, I'm in town now for the long haul.
Hey, Chris, just one comment about that. You know, we did have a subcommittee that went through those priorities as well. So Vic was on that and some other members. So if you can't get a hold of Vic, I think I could probably ping those things out to you as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure.
All right, Dale, anything on the ad hoc safety element?
I think we just beat that one to death earlier.
I'm just giving you another chance. And Kim, do you have anything to report on the EOP EOC plan?
No, same here.
Nothing additional. All right. Excellent. And any last topics, comments before we wrap up? All right, our next meeting falls on the 2nd of October. Anybody know they have a problem with that? That we're gonna have any trouble making a quorum? I do see a question from the audience here, so maybe I'll hold that question. Ed, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Very good. I just wanted to remind everybody that Saturday, September 20th, will be the Zots to Tots race in town with road closures starting around 9:30 on Alpine and Portola roads, with a rolling reopening following the tail end of the race along Alpine and through Portola. This is going to be managed in collaboration with the Sheriff's Department, and I know that our friends with CERT are also gearing up to help and lend us volunteers. But for anybody that can help put the word out and help volunteer with marshalling stations at our smaller intersections, please put the word out. Something will be going out on the forum, and I think the town will be sending out a notice as well, calling for volunteers. But as I say, please put the word out and please be ready for the road closures. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ed.
Chris,
Okay,
this is Dale, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Are we planning to have a table at the town picnic, the EPC?
I think the deadline for deciding that is this afternoon. So it's a good question. Should we have a picnic table at the picnic? That would require volunteers to staff said table. You're at the CERT table. You're at the conservation table. Do we have anybody that could spend some time? Because I think having an empty table isn't Ray somehow, he's involved in the picnic, at least part of the day. I think his band is playing. Yeah.
He's great.
His,
Yeah.
his band is playing.
We may be,
Is there a town table? Like, is the town manager going to be there and Woodside Fire? And I'm just trying to.
yeah, Woodside Fire is usually there. CERT is
Mhm.
usually there. I don't know if we historically have an EOC table right next to all those people or if we just join them.
Normally we have a table right with CERT and Woodside Fire, Chris.
Okay.
It just might be confusing to the public, the EPC table and how we kind of fit in. I'm wondering, like, what information would we be communicating?
All right. Well, maybe given already strained staff volunteering elsewhere, which is kind of my point earlier too, that we're gonna have to decide at some point when we want to volunteer to staff EOC, we're gonna. But maybe we skip it this year, and if any EPC members want to go, I'm sure you'd be welcome at a CERT table or at a fire table to talk about emergency stuff.
I already told Darcy that I was happy to float if she wanted to do anything EOC related that day. So I
Okay.
guess in theory, that could be EPC committee involvement,
Okay.
but I'll connect with her offline.
Any comment, Dale?
Yeah, I think it's kind of sad that we can't staff a table, but I understand.
All right, back to next meeting, October 2nd. Anybody know they can't make it? Looks like we're okay for a quorum. Okay. On that note, we adjourned. Thank you very, very much. See you in a month. We probably should. Second, all in favor?
Aye.